on Claude, Jean-Claude.
Cut.
I'm waiting for it.
No. Go ahead. No. See, I speak the language.
Hello, friends. I'm Jean-Claude Mystic, and welcome to this evening's Wacky Woo. With me this evening, of course, is the one and only BIX. You can find him at roadtoruta.com, and you can find Joe as well at patreon.com/jsnip4. BIX, Joe, welcome back to the show. How are you guys?
Good. I'm pumped with that intro. Holy moly.
We had a lot of fun with that. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here live. Yes, that's the first edition of our promo video for the conference coming up in March. Let us know in the live chat if you like the song, and of course the funny tidbits at the end. That was from the Joe, from the video we had produced for the what do we call it? Spiritual Woo Adventures. What was it called?
Spiritual retreat, spiritual retreat, or
woo? No, there was a woo in there. No. Woo retreats? Spiritual
there is
woo?
now.
Spiritual retreat adventures.
Yeah. There you go. Oh my God. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here tonight. We're triple casting right now on YouTube, X, and also on Rumble. So Bix and Joe, let's stay on our good behavior. And if for some reason you can't, let me know and we'll disconnect the YouTube feed. Man, there's a lot going on since you guys were back on the scene. Of course, we have the tariffs that were just announced here that could affect what's happening with the prices of silver and gold moving forward in a big way. We're going to get into that tonight. Of course, we're going to look into whether or not the United States is under attack and whether or not our government wants to admit it. It seems to be the question of the hour right now. Of course, lots going on. We have a few updates also from Cliff and also from Entheos, I believe, Joe. Before we start into all of that, Joe, we're just hitting now the 1st of February, or yesterday. We're in the month of February. January is already gone. We seem to think that Trump is on track here with all the executive orders and the promises. It looks good. It looks like the train is moving out of the station. But how do you feel right now? You're in the States. What's the momentum like? What are the people saying around you in Florida? Are they happy where this is going? Are they trepidatious with all the news right now? What's the pulse right now in the States?
Yeah, anybody that's into paying attention to this stuff and, has their eyes and has had their eyes and ears open, there ain't nothing Trump's doing that they're complaining about. It's like we're all on the Trump train. Let's roll. Let's go. We're not getting off. Mm-hmm. Those who don't ever pay attention, they're just going about their lives like as if nothing happened, because you can see them. But I think because if people weren't happy, you'd be hearing about it. You'd be standing in line somewhere. You'd be at a restaurant somewhere. Someone's going to be unhappy, and I have not heard anything. Even when I just got back from a trip from New Mexico, helping a different friend out, actually, at their claim.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But even out there, it's like, I'm not really hearing anything, any complaints, and that's, New Mexico itself is a pretty blue state.
Right.
But, you'll see the signs out there, vote Republican, vote for, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I think people are starting to come around, if you will. So, yeah, I think we're on the right track.
Well, when you look at it, I mean, if you look at the majority he got in terms of votes, most Americans were ready for this, and this is what they were asking for, even though we were being told that, we were the fringe minority, we're the Ku Klux Klan and whatever else, white supremacists and some people supposedly voting for Trump. That wasn't the case. Bix, you're nodding your head here too. You're on the other side of the country here in California.
Yeah.
The same sentiment there also with Trump and the situation, or very different? What do you see?
Well, you got to remember, California has mostly been brainwashed. But, I was looking at the votes. When you take Trump's people in California who voted for Trump and they left Kennedy on the ballot just to dilute the Trump votes, he got 40% of the California vote, which is way up from what he had before, even though California rigs every election they have, including the presidential election. But he got I would guess that California had Trump winning if it was some kind of fair voting, which it isn't ever in California, but especially at the state legislature and all that. But yeah, it's clear everything is different. Everything's about to change. And I'm excited. We've been waiting for this a very long time.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of the fires, Trump just reopened the taps of the water. He was on a visit there with Melania just last week, suggesting that he would do that if the state would reverse their law on no voter ID. How did that transpire? Like that was the perfect setup, right? Well, what just happened?
Oh
with
yeah.
that?
Well, Trump had the big press conference with the mayor of Los Angeles, who was saying, people couldn't get back to their houses. Well, it's not safe. Blah blah blah. We saw this in the Lahaina fires, where those are still cordoned off. That area, you can't even go back. It's so ridiculous. They take their direct energy weapons. This is not normal fires. You don't see all the steel and everything go down to white ash in a normal fire. That's complete bullshit. But
all the ceramic from the toilets, the bathtubs, and all
everything
that completely gone. Like,
yeah. I had a friend, one of the subscribers, who said, "Hey, Bix, my sister lost her house. I had some silver in that house, and it was like a monster box, and it melted the part of the silver, not all of it. I mean, part of it melting is crazy because silver melts at like 1700 Fahrenheit, and supposedly the house fires only are supposed to get to 1100 Fahrenheit. So, a lot of people seeing metals melting and like running down the street. And then when they turn off the direct energy weapon, it just instantly stops melting and just freezes up like that. So I think Trump basically said in a live interview, the live discussion with the LA mayor, no, see that guy right there? He has a truck. He can go into his house right now and go through his stuff and see if there's anything to salvage. You cannot block these people right now. Right now. Say it right now. And she goes, yeah, we can do that. It's crazy.
It was great. And he also said when he got on the tarmac, he says, "Oh, it looks like it was hit. We're not going to say what it was hit for because we can't talk about that. But yeah, it looks like LA was hit."
Oh, yeah.
Of course, he's alluding to the directed energy weapons. Joe, let me bring this up on the screen here. Let me see if we can change Dex just a moment. I think the two of you were on screen with me when this bridge collapsed just last year. Now, of course, we have the helicopter crash in DC into the plane. We also have what appears to be a missile now in Philadelphia. And this F-18 also just crashed in one of those airports here, just on the left, right corner of the screen there. And on top of that, there was another one, I think, in Texas just earlier today. So what the hell's going on, guys? Like, my gut feeling, you guys as well, we're clearly under attack. We're in this covert war. Do you think we're close to this going overt, to Trump having been forced now to admit that we're actually under attack, as opposed to just using the cover story of, oh, these are all mistakes here because of diversity hires? How close are we to knowing we're actually at war? Let me start with you, Joe.
Oh, I didn't know if you were going to put me on the screen. I was waiting to be front and center. Sorry. I'll stay on the side.
He likes the spotlight.
Come on, man. It's a little dim in here. So, I think they're probably going to say something. I just got done watching the future forecasting group, and they're drawing like strategic attacks on cartels. Like, not sending guys in, just drones dropping a precision bomb on someone's effing head. Like, that's, something that's, we've been wondering, hey, what if he's going to do that? Because he declared them terrorists. And I'm like, well, if you declare someone a terrorist, you aren't asking to go into someone's country. Like, you're just going to go do what you want. Yeah. So it looks like maybe Trump's going to go over there. She just said Heidi is going to go over there and clean house on the cartels. As far as, him coming out and stating it, I don't know. I mean, it may need to be, kind of like that for a while, but if he's going to do something, I think he's going to have to say something. If he's, if it's going to get to the point where people are going to go, hey, like, this is way too much. What's going on? And he may have to make a declaration of that. But, he told us before he became president with the sleeper cells and Biden, they're letting all these people cross the border. So he can use that now easily as ammunition to say, hey, look, I told you this was happening. And now that I'm president, let me tell you something. It's happening, Right. And we may have to, again, go back to some of those.
Activate the National Guard and go onto a different war footing for sure. Bix, what do you think? Are we close to that? The announcement that we're at war? Are we months away? Can they continue kind of, using all these stupid excuses on the mainstream news and having people say, "Oh, okay, everything's okay"? Like,
well, do you think? I think it's been over 8 years that we've been at war, and I think Trump will. Trump and the good guys, they'll announce it when it's to their advantage. I mean, right now it's to their advantage to stay in the sidelines and drop bombs on people who aren't expecting it and things like that. But who would we go to war against? I mean, the deep state politicians will cower in their little cubby holes. They could never rally people behind them like Trump could. I don't know who we'd be at war with, other than at the good guys level, at the Trump and the military level, the covert war it's going on now. And whether we know about it or not, it's probably better that we don't know about it. They can do more, and because you don't want Trump sitting there in a press conference and they're saying, well, which is the next deep state operative you're going to take out, Mr. Trump? No, he's going to do it behind the scenes and pretend that people are still alive, like pretend Clinton's still alive and all this stuff. And
right,
will it ever come out? If it's to the advantage of the United States of America and people in charge, yeah, it would, because they'd want it to come out. Right now, it's not out because it's not to our advantage yet.
Or if their hand is forced somehow, there's that too. Now, going back to who we go to war against, I want to have both your takes on this. I've been fielding questions about this, friends and family, in the last couple of days. And it's like, why the hell do we need 30,000 beds at Gitmo for migrants? I mean, he's deporting them, and it's very expensive to house migrants in Gitmo. So clearly, that's not what it's for, or at least I don't think so. Was it just Venezuela the other day? He said they didn't want their migrants back, and he says, oh yeah, I'm going to tariff you 25%. And within a half an hour, they said, okay, we'll take them back. So the move is to deport. It's not to hold them at Gitmo. Is this presumably for Nuremberg 2.0? Joe, you're nodding your head. What's this all about?
Yeah, that's a lot of empty space there for just some migrants, when we could technically house them here.
Yeah.
We could detain them here if we wanted to on the mainland.
Yeah.
Or again, send them back and
well, he said it was for the worst of the worst, presumably.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, if you're going to round them up and, they're going to take them back now. Why do you need those 30,000 for? Why was that lady Catherine Heritage or whatever over there filming right when he was being sworn in and stuff? Basically, she's over there doing a little news clip on it. Going, man, I think we know. I think we all know what Gitmo is about to be used for.
What's that song from CNC Music Factory? What's that song from CNC Music Factory?
Oh,
Things That Make You Go.
Oh, that one. I was thinking the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, Things That Make You Go. Yeah, it feels weird. What about you, Bix?
I got the answer. I know the answer. I've been screaming this for such a long time. Let the price of silver be freely traded. Mexico will be the most powerful and richest country on the planet. Everybody who immigrated here from Mexico, legal or illegally immigrated, is going to run back home. It's not fun to go to a new country where you don't speak the language. All your friends are not here, but you come here for the prosperity. The reality is, if silver was trading at $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 an ounce, like it should be, they'd all go running home. Silver has the most. Mexico has the most silver on the planet, and I think that's part of the idea behind the 25% tariff, because we get 65% of our silver from Mexico and Canada, and both of them have been now, as of the 4th, will be taxed 25% for tariffs. Do you think they're going to give us any silver at all? No. I mean, the price of silver, if we still imported the same amount, would go to $39 instead of $31. I don't think they're going to send it to America. I think they're going to say, screw you, lock up the silver and let the price run. And then what happens? Everybody who immigrated over the past 4 years is going to run back home because all their friends and family are getting rich back home. It's such an easy thing to do. And all we got to do is, okay, open border, and everybody's going to run back home. That's my two-step plan. Let silver rise and open that border and let them run home.
Okay, I'll get back to that in a second here, because I want to look at gold too, and I want to look at what's happening at the LBMA. Something seems to be broken here, and just in the last couple of days was making the news. But just very quickly, let's go back to Gitmo and these 30,000 beds. Who are they for? Bix.
Well, I would guess the deep state. There's plenty of people to put there. Half of Washington, D.C. could probably go there. But it's not the first time they've announced, the expansion of Gitmo. It's happened quite a few times in the past. And who knows what goes down there in Gitmo. That's one of those things that there's a lot of hidden underground shit going on right now that it's hard to explain because we don't see it. It's that secret war that's going on and it's been going on. Biden wasn't really the real president for 4 years. Everybody pretty much knew it. Although, I mean, as the game goes along, you're in the middle of the game. You're not thinking, oh, he's not the president. He got sworn in 10 minutes before the noon swear-in time when Biden got sworn in. He was never the president. And there were so many clues to that. But we're caught in the narrative. We're still living inside the bubble. We need to break out of the bubble and say, oh, my God, everything we've been told is a lie. Everything from free markets to who built the damn pyramids. Everything is a lie. And once we get that in our minds, it's like, okay, how can I survive this transition and move forward? Cryptos, great idea. Silver, great idea. If you love gold, swap all your gold for silver, then swap back when silver's freely traded. There's a lot of great ideas. But, if we keep falling back into, oh, yeah, I'm waiting for Trump to say something about the war against the bad guys. It's happening. You're just not involved at that level.
Right.
Apply for the job. Go to the NSA or whoever's hiring and say, hey, I want to work in this special department that sneaks into the Biden household in the middle of the night and arrests them and brings them to Gitmo.
Yeah. Okay, I have an idea for a show on that. That'll be funny. Let's go back to London here in just a moment. We seem to be, and I want your opinion on this here too, Bix. Are we technically in a technical default? They're saying 4 to 8 weeks now to deliver. There seems to be something different happening in the last couple of days than before. We've seen some perturbations and we've seen low stock. Of course, people have been front running the COMEX and the LBMA for the last year or two. If you listen to Andy Sheckman and people who are doing the research, but something appears to maybe be broken now that's different. Is this in anticipation of the tariffs? What do you think?
I think this has happened, 50 times in the last 25 years that I've been following the precious metal markets. There's only one thing that matters with gold and silver. And that's the derivative market, the COMEX and the LBMA derivative market. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. They trade 400 million ounces in a day in derivatives to control the price. That's all that matters. And people only buy assets when the price is going up. Look at cryptos. You get some unknown coin, the Huacatui coin, and everybody chases after it because it's going up. What do you think is going to happen if they let the price of silver go up? There's not enough silver on the planet to stop that kind of fire hose through the Dixie cup type of demand for silver. And until that happens, until they let the price be freely traded, which it hasn't been for 180 years, we're not going to see the price of silver go up. The only question left is, are they going to click the mouse and put the price of silver at minus $40 like they did with oil? Or would they click the mouse and put the price of silver at $1 million and destroy the banking cabal? My bet is the $1 million, and then the COMEX is going to shut down. And we're going to have to move on to a different type of market.
Right. And do you think that's this year?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Joe?
We're so close.
We're close, huh? Yeah. How about you, Joe? What do you think? Where are we at on this timeline?
I love gold. I mean, I'm just thinking cliff high $600 silver. And the current climate we're in now and where this is probably going based on the information Antheo shared with me a couple days ago for the year 2025 in particular. I think there's going to be some, maybe that will happen. He didn't mention that to me, but it's ripe, I think, for the happening with the precious metals market and, a whole bunch of other things happening and crashing and, being destroyed. And
that's how much the banks would lose with $600 silver. That's how much the 4 big banks will lose with $600 silver.
Yeah.
They'd be out of business.
Yeah. Put a fork in it, basically, for those guys.
Yeah.
So, and I want to mention one thing. Okay. So I know Cliff's in here. Cliff, I know you lost your wife. I'm sorry to hear that. And I didn't see your post that basically said, leave me alone. Don't call or do that. Because I was flying that day. So a few days later, I'm like, hey, did this happen? And let me just call him and ask, and so I call him on the phone and he's, we didn't talk long. So I just want to say, sorry, I didn't know you posted hey, just let me be. I'm the same way. Don't call me, don't say nothing. Just leave me alone. I'm good. I just need to deal with this kind of stuff my way. And I didn't know that. So I'm sorry about that. I just want to say that. Sorry about that, man. But yeah, I think
I don't think you need to apologize, Joe.
Nah, but I mean, I did what he said not to do, and I didn't know it, so sorry about that, man. I love you, but yeah, I could see the $600 thing coming, man. And then even further, like Woo Dude said, a stack was 10,000, then a stack of 20 was 30,000, and he goes, "Oh no, there's more, 50,000."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, God, could you just imagine that?
Yeah.
And I don't think Cliff's data ever said, he can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think his data ever said it's going to hit $600, and then that's it. The party's over. Like it could certainly go higher.
He said
that
the
was
opposite,
just a number that stood out as okay. This is going to happen, and yeah. All right,
yeah,
thanks,
I think
man.
it was a big demarcation, and that was maybe the last big demarcation before unobtainium and before like maybe 1-to-1 or surpassing 1-to-1 with gold. So that's where the 600 was lying, I think, in the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I did ask him about that the last time he was on the Wacky Woo, and I said, "Is that still in the $600 silver? Is that still in the data set? Like, as it still accruing?" And he says, "Oh yeah, it still is." And so, is it this year? I don't know. Is it next year? It appears right now that we're heading closer and closer to 50, probably in a very short time frame. I had Andy Scheckman on a little while back. We talked about that, and I also had Marty Hibbs, who also works with the Future Forecasting Group. He's looking at his charts and is like, "Yeah, we're pretty close to that already." And that was before the tariff stuff and the implementation or the effects that or the knockoff effects of that. So we're very close on all that stuff. I want to get into a crypto segment maybe a little bit later on in the show, but I wanted to go back to these attacks here and decode them a little bit more with you guys, because I haven't really had time to chat with you since this happened.
Mm-hmm.
But this first one here, this helicopter that crashed into the plane in DC, at first glance, when I saw the video the first night, and I want to have your opinion on this, it looked like kind of like that boat that hit the bridge last year. It kind of looked like it made a beeline directly for it. It was like it was aiming for it. I mean, how could you miss it? It was like it was bright lights, bright sky, as Trump was saying. So I was like, come on, man, there's something weird with that story. And Janine did a poll that same night or the next morning. And at that point, people were listening to Trump's press conference on the diversity hire and that perhaps being a cause of it. And he says, "Oh, I know better." With the reporter asked him, "Well, why do you think it's that?" And then I was looking at it, and Janine pulled some cards on it. And she says, "Well, from what I'm getting, first of all, the number of people in the plane is wrong. Second of all, there's nobody in the helicopter. It's remotely operated." This was getting in the cards. And now, since then, it came out. We're seeing the videos of these helicopters being flown remotely. And there's all this weird shenanigan about who was actually in the plane, not in the plane, who's in the helicopter, and all that stuff. So bring us through the timeline of when you first saw the crash, Joe. Let me ask you first. And then in the next couple of days, like, is it confirming your bias? Or are you now even more confused than you were on day one? Where are you on this Black Hawk crash, Joe?
Well, I mean, Tori was all over it. So I was, as it was going down, I was like, I wonder what she has to say. And I had the same thing. I'm like looking at everything going there. I just can't buy that this plane and this helicopter just didn't see each other, man. Sorry. I don't know how, all the lights flashing and everything that's going on. It's a common flight for the helicopters. Like, they're like, "Oh, but the runway the plane took off was not commonly one used," and whatever, But she said, it was the governor of North Dakota. I told you guys he was selling all of our F-18 and other military secrets to China. Of course, after I started putting some pressure on them, according to her, he killed himself. And she goes, however, these chips that are put into avionics and everything else, we come to understand some of those chips were coming from China when they weren't supposed to be through some of the support suppliers, but they, probably got them cheap from China. So they went ahead and took them, and they can be remote controlled. So she's basically insinuating, and I believe her, that these things were remote controlled. And again, it may come out later that it's actually China who did it. So again, we have this card we can now play. Look what China did. This is an act of war, because we might need that card for some reason, so just let kind of like the Boeing thing was coming up. Boeing. Whatever happened with that? Where'd it go? It's out of the news now. Right. But it's like, just feed some nuggets, because that Boeing thing is going to come back into play. The remote control helicopter thing is going to come into play. And we may find, Boeing's been, whoever, these manufacturers, they actually skirted, federal law. They've been buying cheap shit from China, and it's in all of our aircraft, and oh my God. And, and it's going to maybe become a very big thing where China could just flip a switch.
Let me ask you also your gut feeling. Were there pilots in the helicopter, and were they trying to avoid the plane, but suddenly the controls were no longer responding because somebody else took over?
If that happened,
let me just say something here before you answer. Heidi was in the chat there too. She says, "Oh, that's just like that movie the Obamas produced. What was it called? Leave the World Behind."
Yeah.
Where the container ships are hitting stuff, and the electric cars are driving themselves to create pylons, and so. Yeah, keep going.
The plane too. Remember the plane came crashing down?
Yeah,
in that movie?
Yeah.
It's exactly right.
Yeah.
If that there in a helicopter like that Black Hawk, there's going to be a pilot and a co-pilot essentially. If you are trying to manipulate the controls, first of all, I don't think they're going to do it the last second. They're going to see it on their screens everywhere. ADSB, everybody's blipping. Here I am. Typically there's going to be controls that might even start yelling at you and warning you.
Yeah,
I don't know what they have on them for sure, but some
proximity detectors and stuff.
Some have them. At any rate, with two people there, and especially one that's not necessarily flying it up in the front, you're going to see what's going on, and you might be telling the pilot, "Hey, you got traffic at whatever, 11 o'clock, blah blah blah," and the pilot, "Oh, okay, let me maneuver now to get ourselves out of the way." I can't control this thing. What's going on? There's going to be recordings either in that black box, or they're going to be talking to the tower, whether it's the local airport tower or wherever they left from, the base tower. They're going to be talking to somebody to tell them, we've lost all control of this helicopter. It's not responding to any of my inputs. That's going to be said somewhere. You're not just going to keep trying and trying, and nothing's working, because in a helicopter you've got your anti-torque pedals, which basically makes the helicopter yaw like this. Now, if you're going at some decent airspeed, you give a little pedal, it's barely going to move the helicopter. So it's not like you're going to do one of these, 90-degree turn when you got some airspeed. When you're almost hovering, you could do all kinds of spins and stuff. But then you have your cyclic and your so let's go over so you have your cyclic. And that's your control stick, essentially, forward, back, left, right. So you can kind of strafe, like in the video gaming world, strafe left, strafe right, forward, backward. Then you have your collective, which is a handle, and it's up and down. It's using your left hand, and that makes you go up, and that makes you go down. Up and down. So if I knew, and I'm in a helicopter, and I see a plane coming, oh my God, the first thing I'm probably going to do as a pilot is drop that collective down, so that we initiate essentially like not free fall, but you're going to do in what's known as an auto rotation, where you basically have no power. It's a simulated deal. You just put all the collective to the ground, to the floor. You're going to go down pretty fast. That's going to be probably the quickest thing you can do to get out of the way. So if any of these things aren't working, you think there's going to be a recording somewhere. Someone's got a recording of what those pilots said.
There were reports that night, and I think Jason Goodman was also on Twitter saying that apparently that particular helicopter was not equipped with a black box. So how convenient.
Yeah, of course.
Just like all the traffic cams were down when Diana had the accident, right? So there's that. Now, apparently, though, the tower did notify the helicopter 2 minutes before. So there was a warning 2 minutes out. Presumably, they would have had time to change course or something like that.
Easily.
There's also the Doomsday plane that was circling around. So I want to have your take on this other thing too. What Janine was picking up is that maybe, so here we're presuming that they're hitting the plane on purpose for nefarious reasons, but there could be another twist to that. What Janine was picking up in the cards was that the plane was carrying something dangerous, quote unquote, and perhaps the helicopter was sent to shoot it down to make it look like an accident, as opposed to a jet having to actually shoot down a passenger jet and then have to deal with the ramifications of, holy shit, we're under attack and the military just shot down a civilian plane. This way, it could be excused as a DEI hire type of situation. Now, what did you make of that?
Let me ask you something.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Was it the first thing? Was it who was it? Pete or Cash? One of those guys were like, "Oh yeah, the plane or the helicopter was on a continuity of government."
Yeah, mission. So the new SecDef, the new Secretary of Defense, said that morning in his press conference, kind of hinting that they were training. And then when he said that, Trump lifted up his head and he looked at everybody in the room, kind of like, mm-hmm. So again, there's weird stuff there going on. BIX, what's your take on all of this?
I the way I look at accidents and not accidents, just things that happen these days, I start with it's conspiracy, and then I try to figure out if it's not, instead of the other way around saying no, it's not a conspiracy. It's what the government told me, and then after 6 months, you're like, holy shit, that was a conspiracy. Now I'm thinking it's a fucking conspiracy. Everything, the Tesla blowing up in front of the Trump Tower. Everything you see today is going to be a conspiracy. The question is it the good guys or the bad guys doing it? And a lot of times you're not going to know. You won't know for a couple of years, just like everything else. Nothing normal happens anymore. And I don't think it will happen big in our as this fight for our freedom continues. It is all in. I mean, when you talk about like the computer chips, I remember I wrote 4 books, Conversations with God, in the old days, and they were PDF books. And I remember one of the books talking about, holy shit, when China bought IBM, and I'm like, it was like the question I asked God was, why wouldn't China, put chips in that they can control, and they're in everything. I mean, IBM was making chips for everything. It's part of the road to Ruta stuff. And once you do that, you can control all the CNC machines on the planet. Remember Stuxnet? They shut down the Iranian nuclear power plants and all that. I think we've hit that moment in time. And I remember McAfee saying, hey, if you've been on a porn site, you can pretty much guarantee that any crypto you had on that computer, they've got your keys, and they're not going to steal your crypto right away. It'll happen all on the same day. And somewhere down the line, all your cryptos will be gone, and everybody will be saying, oh my God, I thought I had perfect security. So, secure your cryptos, secure your silver, and look at everything as a conspiracy, and you can survive. If you don't do that, I don't know what to tell you. It's hard to navigate this world.
Speaking about that, thank you, Bix. Yes, Joe and Coco just put out the Crypto Panic to Own Level 3, and it's all about cold storage. So if you want to have your crypto in a safest possible way, please do go check out this new workshop. It's out now, and the coupon code there, I believe, is, let me bring it down, JSNIP4. That'll give you 10% off of this workshop here. It's available for you.
One more thing on that note, and this scared the shit out of me. So I love hardware wallets, the Trezor and the Ledger, and I think they're very safe. But I was watching this YouTube video, and a guy X-rayed his little connector to his computer, and there was a microprocessor in the connection thing of the wire that went to the computer. You never know where they're gonna steal the shit. It's crazy.
Joe gets into that, actually, some of the scams that they do, repackage them and take the keys and all that stuff. You have to be careful in making sure you're buying from the actual vendor and not some of these revendors, even though they might be on top of it. Yeah, that's just crazy. Wow.
It's nuts.
Fucking
well,
nuts.
Do you remember several years ago, there was the super micro server story, and all these servers that Amazon and Google and all these companies were using had these, the motherboards had this Chinese chipset, something or another on there, and basically compromising the whole thing. That was many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So if that was then,
imagine,
there's no telling what has transpired since then and what they've got their hands into. And as a greedy company, especially one that's trying to save money, and they're using a third-party vendor they're not supposed to, getting these chips from China because they're cheap, and then they use them. That's a bad deal. What if the companies know they're doing it? They're not doing it to save money. They're going to play dumb when it happens, but they're essentially, or we're already infiltrated by the Chinese, and the Chinese are just going to give them the chips to put in all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Bix, you were just saying you start with it's probably a conspiracy, and then you work your way back to see if there's actually any truth to any of that. And you would have said that a year ago, and probably most of your friends would have thought you're crazy. But today, not so much. Trump just fired the 51 intelligence agencies who swore that the Hunter Biden laptop was a mere Russian concoction, right? Even though the guy was sentenced to 17 years of jail for the stuff in the laptop, even though he's now received the pardon from his father, here we are now. And if this was the case, and it was, 51 agencies. We now have some email trains that are coming out today who specifically say why they're trying to get all of these guys on board to give Biden some cover here and some pushback against this Trump accusation here
That was Brennan.
during the election. Yeah, Brennan, right? So imagine if they went this far, what else were they doing? Because for most people, when I got my YouTube channel deleted, and I think Joe's too at the same time, it was on this Hunter Biden laptop thing, people you couldn't fathom that the government would go so far. Well, here we are now, years later. Facebook admitted that the government was in there. They had backdoor access. They were basically controlling the community notes and the how you call it, the fact checkers. They were deleting people without due process. And now we have this on top of it. So I think most people's heads are about to explode. I was talking to some normies about this, and they're like, wow, it was all true. And they're kind of all like, you can see they kind of get glazed over in their eyes, but there's a hint of anger, but it's not yet like manifest yet. Do you experience that, Joe? And how close do you think we are to those people really getting fucking angry, specifically on the COVID stuff that's just around the corner too, Joe?
Right. Yeah. I haven't seen too many people, but I haven't really interacted with too many people lately. But yeah, it's always, it's the old saying, the truth goes through 3 phases, right? First, it's ridiculed. Second, it's violently opposed, and then it becomes common knowledge. And yeah, I can't wait for the COVID stuff to really start making waves, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say too much because we're still on YouTube, I think, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, I could. Yeah, let's.
Not really anything to say about it besides.
Okay, I'll hold my mouth. I had something to say.
Okay. No. I'll remove YouTube. Okay, guys. So let me just go back in the live stream here. I'll bring the link down for you guys. So if you're on YouTube now, please come over and join us on the Rumble feed. Let me just remove. Yes, and remove.